Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Stream Dialogue. It's a new week, it's a new month of August. We wish that everything you plan to accomplish this week, this month, you accomplish it in full and accomplish it with full satisfaction. So, we have some good news coming out of Burkina Faso. The Minister of Defense, General Sampore, has stated that the Burkina Faso government now control over 72% of its national territory. So some people might say, but 72%, we have another some 28% that is still not under the full control of the Burkina Faso state. Yes, and I will explain why, even though 28%, roughly 28% is not in the full control of the Burkina Faso state, this is still a impressive feat, and this is a impressive victory. So when this guy, Captain Ibrahim Traore, came to power with his colleague from MPSR 2, the percentage of territory under the control of the Burkina Faso state was less than 30. Also, the the rebels, so-called rebels, the mercenaries were gaining ground. So this is to begin with. The Burkina Faso army could not launch a sustained offensive, nor could it uh, fortify itself to hold on to what it had. It was losing ground. These mercenaries, if you remember, or if you will look online during that time, these mercenaries will film themselves capturing Burkina Faso army position, weapons, and so forth, making fun of them. They will even film the Burkina Faso army running away. Even though these are brave soldiers, but still, they were under equipped. Um, they were overpowered. They were being overpowered because these mercenaries were being armed with even more powerful weapons than the brave Burkina Faso fighters. They even lack ammunition, of course. If they don't have the weapons, then they won't have ammunition to launch any counter-offensive, all their strategic position and so forth. But what I want to convey to listeners, like we said, we always try to analyze the fight in the Sahel, this struggle against these imperialist mercenaries is a war of attrition. And what does that mean? It means that in a war of attrition, it's not big offensive, big arrow offensive where you just overwhelm the enemy with, let's say, manpower and so forth. In war of attrition, you wear the enemy down, depleting its resources. So you deplete their manpower, as you see with the drone strikes. A lot of drone strike. You hit their logistics, ammunition supply, gas supply, and so forth. So this is what the Burkina Faso, not just Burkina Faso, but even Niger and Mali are doing, and they're targeting their finance, their mode of finance, their morale as well. You see a lot of strikes decapitating the leadership of most of these groups. Materials are being struck every day, being captured, and during a war of attrition, you have to make sure that you are being replenished more than the enemy, and this is what is being happened. Um, let's face it. Yes, a lot of countries are supporting these mercenaries, like Algeria, Mauritania, Cote d'Ivoire, of course, Benin. Maybe it's not as deep as in Benin as it is in those um, other states like Cote d'Ivoire, Algeria, but still, um, there are being there's something going on there. But even in that, still, the Burkinabe army, because it had to rebuild itself, they've chosen a attrition warfare, which is what conflict is nowadays. If you see the Armenian Azerbaijan war a few years ago, or even just a while ago, you see that the Azeri side just wore the Armenian down through basically a war of attrition, a lot of drone strikes and so forth. Same thing with the Russia-Ukraine war. You know, many people, a lot of Western pundits, a lot of people, even African journalists, it's so hard to watch. They don't understand, especially the way of fighting from the Russians. They always use attrition warfare to wear the enemy down. So that is what is happening. So even though these mercenaries are being supplied by, we know they're imperialist backers, still the Burkinabe, the AES militaries are making gain. But what we can see is that Burkina Faso are securing strategic site. Like in Djibouti, they're securing the surrounding areas to make sure that it's not a big threat uh, to the city of Djibouti in the north. Remember, a few years ago, there was this huge attack. Thousands of mercenaries descended on the city of Djibouti. And of course, the Burkinabe army fought bravely. They repelled that attack. And recently, a few months ago, we saw a similar attack, but this one was even a bigger failure on the side of the mercenary. But what they're doing, you can see they're basically surrounding these mercenaries. Mali is doing the same thing as well. And the three armies are surrounding these mercenary, especially in the three border area. You can see, if you follow the movement and the development in the Sahel, these mercenaries are slowly being surrounded. Their supplies are being cut. Their routes are being cut. So today's battlefield is much more different. You know, in the past, it was two two big armies going at each other. Nowadays, if you send large number of numbers of troops, they will be wiped out easily. Drone, now we're in the era of drones. You can fight the enemy from far away, take out the enemy without even being that close to them. Drones and so forth. Even drones in some cases are more effective than fighter jet. And we see that that's what the AES are doing. But another thing why these big offensive are not happening, let's stick with Burkina Faso for now. They're using like rapid intervention battalions, which are spearheading the fight. Of course, they have air support, so this is like a combined warfare. I forgot the term of it, where what it's called. So air support, lead behind the air strikes, then come the troops on the ground, but not in huge numbers, as you will see, because these mercenaries are trained in mine warfare. So if the Burkinabe army will, of course, if it wasn't for these mine, the Burkina army could just overwhelming these mercenary and take them out. But you can't do that. When before the mercenary attack, they like to lay mines. So if a if a let's say a battle if a group of soldiers or a base that is being attacked call for backup right away, and those troops that are supporting, that are backing up those being attacked, and they just rush in, yes, they will suffer severe casualties. So This war of attrition is definitely working. Us Africans, we, a lot of us are wondering, like, from the Western propaganda, we're saying, "Oh my gosh, this is taking so long to to defeat these mercenaries." But we have to understand that this is a fight that's being launched, being fought since, in the case of Burkina Faso, since around 2015, maybe even earlier. In Mali, around a little bit earlier, in probably 2012 or something. Niger, the same thing. So these people, so these mercenaries are entrenched. A lot of them are entrenched in the population. So the fight is not just military as you see it. It's not just, and then the AES are trying to limit civilian casualty as well. So that's another thing about war of attrition. You target the enemy. You don't just, like a lot of Western country like to do. Like they don't care about civilians. They like to use the term collateral damage, and there's been a lot of collateral damage when they going somewhere. Yeah, but the AES is winning the battle through attrition. One of the thing in 2023, during the after the Nigerian overthrew Mohamed Bazoum, ECOWAS thought they would, rush in and just make this quick victory. They were being lied to by the French. But I think a lot of military officials in ECOWAS tell them that, yeah, this is not going to work. You think you could go in and just defeat the Nigerian army within, let's say, 2 3 days? I think at one point they were saying they were just gonna go for 2 weeks. No, today's battlefield is much different. ECOWAS was not equipped with any resources to fight the AES. The AES had drones. The AES had they're more experienced in fighting in the terrain they're in. So there was no way ECOWAS was going. Even the French could not go. The French like to play it off, but they themselves wouldn't dare. They wouldn't dare to venture. And you can launch your strike, but still, if you don't have troops on the ground, you can't control anything. You can't make any difference. It doesn't matter how many airstrikes you launch. You can't make any difference on the ground. So yes, and war itself is about logistics. So majority of troops you will see are dealing with logic. You need logistics. You need a logistical support line to supply your troops. Sorry, let me fix my mic. To supply your army, they need to be provided, of course, with weapons, so forth, but food. Also, those troops need to be rotated. And when ECOWAS are saying, "Oh, we're gonna do this and do," yeah, there was no way they were going to do any such thing. So these politicians are nothing but that, politicians. So this attrition warfare goes to the overall defeat of terror of these mercenaries. Um, one of the thing they like to the stick they like to use against the AES leaders is that, "Oh, you've come to power. You said you will improve the situation. You will get rid of terrorism, even though they're the ones who are supporting it. But you haven't defeated the problem. But this problem is not just on the military side. Yes, they're doing well on the military side. Even in Mali, there's been a lot of um, decapitation strike of these mercenary leaders. But still, as you see in Burkina Faso, it is being played out. So you want to address the root cause of these people being recruited. So things like poverty, as you see, the they're working, and this is very impressive. They're working on building their economy. They're addressing ignorance through education. You have inter community dialogue and so forth. Uh, of course, the social problem like tribalism, religious, religiosism, whatever you want to call it, and like ethnocentrism. So these are things, even racism. These are things that can be at the root cause of this plague. Because yes, these people are being supported and recruited from outside, but still it is a fertile ground for them to be recruited. And this is why I say to a lot of Africans, it doesn't matter which country, or when I travel and I hear a lot of people talking about this ethnic group and that ethnic group, that is a weakness that us as African have, and we have to overcome it, because people they've been exploiting that since the first day these people set foot in the continent. They've been exploiting that, and look where it has gotten us. So things like infrastructure development is a way of defeating this plague, these imperialist mercenaries. So when we say infrastructure, building of roads and other stuff, there the army can move freely, can move rapidly, it can defend itself. If you don't have any roads, a village is attacked there, it will be days before you could get there because there are no roads. And some country, when there's a rainy season, these dirt roads are very, very, very bad. So developing the road infrastructure, as you see in Burkina Faso, this is the strategic thinking of Captain Ibrahim Traore and his team, the MPSR2. They're developing the infrastructure while waging this struggle against these terrorists. So the troops need to be underground, even if there's strike. We see a lot of drone strikes. So even if there's drone strike against these mercenaries, you have to be underground to exploit that. Yes, they've been weakened, but you don't want them to regroup. You want to have your troops on the ground to clean up whatever is left, so they can't, regroup and then launch a lot of offensive against uh, the military itself, or even unarmed population, which they like to do. So the Burkinabe army was disarmed. It was being disarmed while the mercenaries were being armed. So the West basically prevented Burkina Faso from purchasing arms, lethal arms as they call it. And in this lethal arm, I will show you how bad it was. In this so-called lethal arms was knives. They were knives, were knives. They could not purchase knives in the army. So therefore, they could not purchase fighter jets. They could not purchase air defense system. They could not purchase rifles, other stuff. So I'm telling you, these people, oh my gosh, they had a plan. They had a plan, and we are happy their plan was interrupted. The attrition, of course, the attrition will continue. It can, when it comes to attrition, it can intensify and it can go down a little bit. So there are times when you have to intensify the attrition, intensify strikes, intensify your ground offensive within these uh, on these groups. But it is working, and a lot of people see a lot of so-called attacks in Mali where they don't understand the military strategy of Mali. Today, August 4th, four Moroccans met with the president of Mali. The president had a hearing with them. Those four Moroccans were kidnapped in Burkina Faso, and the Malian army rescued those four Americans. But what I'm saying is that yes, these mercenaries are attacking, but could it be that because every time they attack, it's like they are defeated. They never left. So what the Malian army is doing is inviting them in. So they travel into areas that they know these rebels think they have the upper hand, and then when they come, it's all she wrote. They are all put to rest. They are all put out of harm's way. And the Malian army, of course, are winning victories every day, every day, every week. You hear something that this rebel chief surrender, another one, got eliminated and so forth. So a lot of people think that the fight is not going. It is going. It is going well. Defeat the mercenary. You can see that the mercenaries are being defeated when France is coming out to make to make a documentary trying to support these mercenaries. And this is to show that they're definite. When France is not hiding its hand, it's not doing it covertly. It's being more overt. It's putting it out there like, yes, we can't afford we don't like that these people are losing. We can't afford for them to lose. But ladies and gentlemen, um we see what is happening. The terrorists or mercenaries, the terrors or mercenaries are losing rapidly. So within this attrition war, they cannot resupply their manpower fast enough. They cannot resupply their material supply, financial supply fast enough than the Burkinabe state. The Burkinabe state, the AES, they can import huge amount of materials. They have huge supply of manpower. They can recruit soldiers to fight on behalf of the state. The mercenaries themselves, they cannot do that. And you can see that the attacks um, have decreased, especially on civilians. So another thing is that the Burkina Faso is trying to secure the population, these strategic side. They're trying to secure this population while surrounding these mercenaries. And I think soon they will be properly surrounded. Same thing. I think all the offensive within the AES are connected. If the Malian army launch, especially within the border areas, or if the Malian army launch an offensive, the Burkina Faso will launch an offensive they're trying to put a cauldron. It may not be look like a cauldron around this group, so they have nowhere to retreat to resupply and to get supply. So that's the whole point. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming today. I wish that you learned something from this video. We shouldn't be despaired. Can't be despaired because what Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger is doing, I'm telling you, they stopped. They throw a monkey wrench in the plan of the imperialists. Because if Burkina Faso went down, Ghana will be gone, Benin will be gone, Togo will be gone, Cote d'Ivoire already um, captured by rebels, but still, they will have a field day. Guinea, the whole West Africa will be gone, and then these people will come back and say, we have to stabilize this region, and then all of these countries will be chopped up into small little itty bitty states, these ethno states which will be in conflict with each other. So a perfect example, let's take Ghana. Ghana will be chopped. The north will be gone, the Akan region where the Akans are, that will break, and then there will still be conflict. Then the other side where, let's say, the airways are, there will still they will that will be gone. Then they will be fighting against each. It would have been a mess. It would have been a mess. So we're happy that the Burkinabe army stepped in and stopped the plan of the French. Because one thing with the West, the old tactic of divide and rule is always to make a state as weak as possible. If they can't control the state, they will try to chop it up into small piece, even though it might not be officially divided, but still it's divided. You know, the central government won't have any full control over its territory. But we're happy um the Burkina government, this new revolutionary government, stopped their plan. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to talk too much, so we will meet again to analyze more stuff that is happening in Africa. Thank you.